Hello, my name is Hakon, and welcome back, all you fabulous fighting fantasy aficionados, for another episode of Fighting Fantasy Fun as we play Scorpion Swamp for the third time. Last time, if you remember, the first time it didn't go well at all. Last time it went rather well. I sort of mapped out most of the beginning of the swamp, and this map, as you can see, looks a complete mess. And hopefully I'll be able to find my way by it today as I try again. So, without too much further ado, I will just get started. So, let's play Scorpion Swamp. Right, so here we are. I've got my supplies ready, as I like calling them. I've got my dice, my pens, my pencil. Sorry, I have to touch my camera a little bit there, because the problem is if I see myself in the screen next to the camera, I tend to focus there instead of on the lens. So when I look into the camera, so I look at the screen instead of the lens. I've got my tea, got my Earl Grey, and I also got some squash because I just had dinner. So that's my drink of choice for my eating today, so I have to finish that as well. And I've also got some water for whenever I'm running out of the other stuff. So let's just get started. New character sheet. So we've got skill, stamina, luck. So skill, let's see what we got today. 10, not too bad. Stamina, 23, and luck 7. Not very good on the luck, but we'll see how that goes. Hey ho. Okay. There will be spells. Of course, this game uses a very similar magic system to Citadel of Chaos, except the spells are not something you learn based on your own magic skill, because you're not a wizard, you're a fighter, but you are able to be given, or you can find spell gems that will give you certain spells that you can use, and we'll get to that. Right. So let's go ready for the background. Just have a little sip of tea first. Right. Okay. Hardy adventurer that you are, you have never been known to quail at a little danger. But you're no fool. You've always been far too wise to venture into Scorpion Swamp. Sorry, I just have to move my phone somewhere else. All your life you've heard tales of that awful marsh and its disgusting denizens. But the real danger of the swamp, so the tales go, is not the creatures that inhabit it, nor even the magicians and wicked men who haunt its paths. No, the reason that so few return from Scorpion Swamp is very simple. The swamp is crisscrossed by numerous trails that twist and turn in all directions. No one has ever mapped them and lived to tell the tale. An evil fog hides the sky, so no one can set a course by the stars. Once you're well into the swamp, even compasses are unreliable. They may point north, west, or south by southeast, leading you round in circles until you drop from exhaustion. So you stayed well away from the swamplands, but although you don't know it yet, something is about to happen to change your fortunes. As you walk along the King's Highway, you come upon an old woman, crumpled in the dust. You carry her into the shade and give her a drink from your water skin. She soon revives, but you walk with her to the next town, just to make sure that she will be all right. You take your leave of her in the town marketplace. "Bless you for your kindness," she says, when you part. "Wear this with my good wishes, and may you never lose your way." With that, she gives you a plain-looking brass ring. When you slip it on your finger, smiling your thanks, it feels loose. An hour later, as you walk down the highway again, you realize that it has altered its shape to fit you perfectly. You have a magic ring. As you travel, you learn more about the brass ring's powers. The old woman must have been a powerful witch, and she meant her blessing seriously. While you are wearing the brass ring, you will always know which way is north. Even in the deepest forest or in the twistiest town street, you will never be lost. Furthermore, the brass ring grows warm on your finger in the presence of evil, even when you are greeted in a friendly fashion. You spend a week with the forest bandits, rough men, but honest in their way, and the ring is cool. But in the caverns it warns you of evil magic and of foul undead, and in the towns you find that no clever thief or lying merchant can fool you. The old woman's gift is valuable indeed to an adventurer like you. Now you feel as though you ought to put the brass ring to some use worthy of its magic. Exploring Scorpion Swamp with its unmapped maze of trails might be the perfect task. And it might be profitable too, so with your mind set on glory and treasure, you set off towards the bogs and fens of Scorpion Swamp. Now turn over. The path that you must travel is a long one, for Scorpion Swamp lies to the far west of the kingdom. As you travel, you have many experiences that a less seasoned traveller would call adventures. To you, fighting orcs and goblins, defying evil wizards and slaying giant wolves are all in a day's work. As you travel farther west, the mountains around you turn to hills, the hills to plains, and the plains to damp lowlands. You know that Scorpion Swamp cannot be far away. When you enter the little town of Fenmarge, no one finds you remarkable. Many travellers pass through here. Your sturdy helmet and sharp sword indicate you are a fighter not to be trifled with, but this is not uncommon. But when, sitting in the local tavern, you announced your plan to explore the swamp, the listeners are dumbfounded. They cluster around you, pushing back the battered benches to make room. The swamp, they tell you, holds the bones of many such as you. Not only is it trackless and infested with vermin, monsters, and starving bandits, but a group of wizards calling themselves the Masters have recently claimed Scorpion Swamp for their own. One of them, a big burly man escorted by 2 great grey wolves, visited this very tavern last week. He didn't say much, they tell you, but he didn't seem the sort to welcome trespassers on his property. As the conversation continues, you realize that the villagers are sure you will die in the swamp. We can't let you go, they say. One even makes so bold as to put his calloused hand on your shoulder to restrain you as you start to walk out the door. Will you challenge them for their impertinence, or politely explain that you are determined? I'm going to politely explain that I'm determined because, well, I'm a nice guy. The villagers shake their heads as you turn towards the door, but make no further attempts to dissuade you. But before you reach the door, a villager blocks your path. He is a short, middle-aged fellow with a black beard cut square across the bottom. At first you take him for a farmer, but he seems more interested in you than any farmer should be. He takes your arm and leads you to a table in the corner of the tavern. The others have gone back to their chatting, and you find yourself willing to hear what this quiet man will say to you. He introduces himself as Grona. If you really intend, to brave the terrors of the swamp, he says, you ought to have some purpose, rather than random mapping and beast slaying. If you agree with him, turn to 240. If you disagree, turn to 122. Well, I do agree. So I'm going to 240. You agree with Grona. Your journey would be much more interesting if you had a mission to accomplish as well. He nods. There are 3 men in this village now, he tells you, who cannot go into the swamp themselves, but each one has need of a strong fighter willing to venture there. The first of the 3 is an old wizard devoted to the cause of good. He stops to quaff a long draught from his mug. If you want to hear him out, turn to 205. If you want to interrupt him to say that you will serve only good, turn to 155. And that's what I'm going to say. I'm going to interrupt him and say, ooh, I'm a goody two-shoes. I will only serve good. You sound sincere. Grona nods and smiles broadly. There are those in the world, he says, who seem rough or simple, but always fight for the right. The good Celator is one, and you, Paladin, are another, though you have much to learn. Somehow Grona seems to be much larger now. Is that a cross embroidered on his robes? And where did that sword come from? You start to speak, to ask him who he is, but he reaches across the table and touches your brow. You feel dizzy. Bless you, young paladin. Seek ye Celator. Then he is gone. You could not tell whether he walked out of the door or simply vanished, but the dizziness passes quickly and you feel very good indeed. Raise your initial luck score by 2. Okay, so my initial luck score is now a more acceptable 9. Still not very good, but it helps. So this Groner is clearly a paladin, and he thinks that you're a paladin apprentice by the sound of it. Anyway, 335. Ducking under a heavy cast iron lantern, you leave the tavern. The light is unexpectedly bright outside, and you blink for a moment in the glare. You start off down the road, but realize you don't know where you're going. Hailing an old man who is leaning out of the window of his shop, you ask where you might find the good wizard Celator. The shopkeeper is suspicious at first, but soon warms you and gives you directions. Soon you are lost again. And at this point I have to point out that you're wearing a ring that means you can never get lost. And yet, even after being given what I can only assume are clear instructions, you find yourself lost. Twice. That's a bit sort of off, but otherwise this book's really good. Honest. Okay. But a ruddy-cheeked woman sets you right. It seems that everyone knows where Celator lives. Eventually you come to a small house on the edge of the village. Celator, a small, stout man in a white tunic and linen breeches, is pottering in his garden as you come up the path. You tell your story. He smiles and asks how you think you can get through the uncharted swamp. If you tell him about your ring, turn to 371. If you would rather keep it a secret, turn to 96. I will tell him about the ring because he is a good guy and he will not covet the ring. He nods. Yes, you are the one I have been waiting for. You can do what must be done. He smiles at you and you feel very proud indeed. I will tell you about the quest. Once upon a time there grew a plant called Antherica. It had many healing properties and was of great value to the makers of white magic. But it was of no value in evil spells, and so the forces of evil set out to destroy the plant everywhere. It was thought that they had succeeded, but through my studies and my crystal ball I have learned that a single plant of Antherica survives, deep in Scorpion Swamp. It is a small dark green bush with sweet-smelling white flowers and purple berries. If you can bring me back just one of those berries, through my magic I can cause the Antherica to bloom again for white magicians everywhere. I just realized that I had my reel-to-reel player on, so there might have been a noise in the background that would have been picked up possibly by my very sensitive sound recorder, so sorry about that. There is plenty of treasure to be found in the swamp, the little wizard goes on, and you may keep all you win. All I need is a single berry of Antherica, but although a fighter like you is well fitted to survive in the swamp, there are magic forces there against which a sword is of little use. I cannot teach you magic, but I can do the next best thing. I can give you 6 magic gems. Each of these will contain 1 magic spell, but when you have used them all, you must rely on your keen sword and your sharp wits. You discuss with Celator which spells you should choose. You may pick 6 spells from the magic spells listed at the front of the book, but only from the lists of neutral and good spells. You may not pick any evil spells. Okay, so I'm writing down my spells, so I'll go to pick 6 from a list here. So, I'm going to go with a stamina spell, because that's the only way to heal in this game, because there are no provisions, there is no potion of stamina, skill, or luck that you usually get. So stamina spell, at least 1. I'll just have a look here now. Fire spell seems very useful. Several places in the book. Ice spell, I know that's useful at least once. Growth, I didn't find any use for that. Bless, I did find 1 use for that. So stamina, fire, ice, bless. Maybe I'll go with 2 stamina spells And the stamina spell, it restores half your stamina, not the full stamina. So rounded up. So that means I get 12 points left, or back rather, on using one stamina spell. By Ice Blast. Friendship, maybe. I'll go with a friendship spell as well. So friendship. It only works on creatures that understand the meaning of friendship. So that's humanoids, pretty much, or very intelligent beings, not animals. So that's it. Two stamina spells, 1 fire, 1 ice, 1 bless, and 1 friendship. I'll go with that. Maybe instead of friendship, I'll go with those. Or maybe I'll just try an illusion spell instead of a friendship spell. Actually, illusion. Yeah, illusion spell. I don't think I found anywhere last time where I could use an illusion spell, or it would make sense to use an illusion spell, but I did find several places that could do with a fire spell. Maybe I should do... Yeah. Maybe I'll do 2 fire spells instead of a... Yeah, I'll do 2 fire spells instead of an illusion. Okay, that's it. With the spell gems tucked safely in your pouch, you say farewell to Celator and strike off towards the swamp. Although your trip will be dangerous, you are buoyed up by the old wizard's wisdom and kindness. Your quest is this. Find an Antherica berry and bring it back to Celator. Turn to 9. And begin your adventure. You are on the southern edge of Scorpion Swamp. Thanks to the brass ring, you will always know which way is north, but you must still make a map. You decide to map each path you follow and each clearing you enter, so that you will know which way to go if you return to a clearing. You quickly find a path leading north into the swamp. A huge sign, crudely painted on a boulder, reads, "Stop, Scorpion Swamp, turn back." A skull and crossbones completes the grisly picture. Bravely you stride past the warning and enter the swamp. You can see that it would be foolish to step off the path into the muck, so you follow the trail where it leads. Turn to 195. You are in clearing 1, and this is where my messy map is going to come somewhat useful. Let's see. So we are here now. Actually, this is no more than the wide spot where three trails meet. The ground is very shaky and wet. I really need to tidy this map up at some point, but it'll do for now. The ground is very shaky and wet, and huge insects flit over the pools of water that dot the ground. Sorry, itchy nose today. Oh. If you want to step carefully across to another trail, turn to 58. If you would rather just jump over the soft part, turn to 91. Now, of course, these two options are very different because stepping carefully is a testing of luck, and jumping is a test against stamina. So as long as your stamina is good, that's not a problem at all. So, whereas if you have a low stamina and you fail your stamina test, you actually lose skill. So that's quite a severe punishment. So now the question now is, where should I go? I mean, I have been a few places now, and I know this corner here, there's the Master of Spiders. I don't seem to need to do anything with him. Then again, it is a way to pass by, so I can get up here. I'm just wondering where now. There was some place I found some things. I'm not sure what use they might have. I know the shortest route is to go east. Anyway, I'll start by just jumping over to get to where I can choose a path first. Roll 2 dice. If the result is equal to or less than your stamina, my stamina is 23, so that's impossible to get here with 2 dice. Yep. You made the jump, otherwise you fell short, etc., and must subtract 1 point from your skill. You may now leave the clearing. Will you travel west, east, or south? So, south, that's back to town, of course. I will come back here at some point. I'm just wondering if there's any point. I know that if I go up to this bit here, I meet a unicorn, and he gives me 2 spells. And wasn't there somewhere I found something else useful? I seem to recall there was some place I found a an item that gave me. Let's see, I'm just going to find my character sheet now. And there's nothing I found that's not. Sorry, excuse me. There's nothing I found so far that seems essential. I'm just wondering which things are essential, which things are part of different quests, and which thing will make it easiest for me to get to where I'm going. I'm going to go west, because that does seem to be the easiest path now, and just sort of skip that other bit around the eastern bit for now. So I will go to 398. I presume there is one of the quests you can get is to actually deal with some of the masters, I presume. Which is why you get the amulets from them. You enter a medium-sized clearing containing a small house built of logs. You are in clearing 4. If you have been here before, well, I haven't, etc., you hear the low growling of a dog. Then you see that it is not a dog, it's a wolf, watching you from beside the house. The door opens and a big burly man steps out. Another wolf follows him. The man carries a sword and is dressed as a forester, but you know from the silver wolf amulet he wears that he is the master of wolves. You hail him in a friendly fashion. He answers gruffly, ordering you away. Will you obey and leave, cast a spell, or attack him? Well, if I attack him, I suppose I'll have to fight the wolves and him. Not a good idea. I do remember he gave me some kind of hint, but I'm not sure if that's something that I technically need to know. I think he said something about crossing the river, and that was the easiest path where I was going. And I couldn't cast if I'd had a friendship spell now, I could have cast a friendship spell on him, and he would have been friendlier, and he would have, yeah. And of course, that's when he gives you the hint. So obviously, that's not necessary because you can't be presumed to have a friendship spell. So basically, and also he gave me something to help with. He gave me some kind of word that I could say that would keep wolves friendly to me as well, which may become useful later, but I haven't met any more wolves. Anyway, I will just have to obey and leave in this case. I'm not going to attack him or anything. So you have 2 choices. If you go north, turn to 90. If you go east, turn to 195. So 195, of course, that's back where I just were. And so I'm going to go north and turn to 90. So of course, you can see the map here. It's very clear, isn't it? It's oh, I see that I've messed it up a bit more than necessary. That one doesn't need to be there, and this one can go down there. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to 90. You have crossed several shallow streams, but now you are faced with a deeper one. This is clearing 34. You see the movement in the water below, and you are not sure that you care to wade across. Whether you use the ice spell, use the wither spell, I suppose that's an evil spell, I don't have that, or wade across very carefully. This is where I can use the ice spell. If I don't use the ice spell, I lose quite a bit of stamina potentially, actually. So, can lose up to 6 points of health there if you don't have an ice spell. So it's of course, when you think about it, that means that a stamina spell is actually worth more than the ice spell. Yeah, so I probably should have gone with another stamina spell instead, but I don't know, it just feels kind of cool to have the ice spell. I mean, literally. So I'm going to use the ice spell and go to 370. So ice. I'll remember that next time. If my stamina is actually anything really, it's better to have a stamina spell. Anyway, the ice spell creates a solid bridge which you can cross easily. You may travel north or south from here. If you go north, turn to 157. I'm going to north, so 157. The path narrows menacingly. You wonder for a second if you have reached a dead end. Then it becomes wider again. You step into a very small clearing. You are in clearing 18. I've not been there before. You see several unusual trees around you. They are dark green and rather small, with snaky limbs. Suddenly you realize that each limb ends in a sword and they are moving. You are being attacked by the dreaded sword trees. They're all around you now. If you want to fight them with your own sword, turn to 28. If you want to try a magic spell, turn to 203. So this is where I am here, yeah. And I'm going to try using a fire spell on them this time, so I'm going to go to 203. Against these uncanny enemies, you decide to use magic. Will you try fire, wither, growth, or none? So I'm going to try fire spell. So that, and I'm going to try 75. Fire. Well, that wasn't very useful, was it? You cast a fire spell on the sword trees. They writhe in anger but are not badly hurt. Turn to 28 and fight, subtracting 2 from the stamina of the sword trees before you start. So, okay, so I still have to fight them. And so they get -2. Okay, so that's not a very efficient use of magic either. At least now I know. So at the moment, the friendship spell actually is more useful because it gives you an option that you wouldn't otherwise get. The other ones I've used only as potentially reducing my stamina or the reducing or increasing the damage done to me. Anyway, there are several sword trees, but you may fight them as a single opponent, blah blah blah. You are lucky in that they cannot see you, they attack by sound. However, there are several trees, each with many bladed branches. And they've got 9, 12, and I've got 10, 23. I'll not have a very high skill this time, so fighting is going to be much harder. And of course they got 9, 10 because I used the fire spell. So there we go. So combat is as follows. I always go through that. Each opponent has a skill and a stamina, and first you roll 2 dice for the opponent. You add it to their skill. That's a 7 plus 9. That's a total of 16. That's their attack score. You do the same for yourself. I roll a 4 plus 10. That's 14. That's my attack score. My attack score is lower, so I lose 2 points of stamina. I usually call it hit points in battle. And then we go on to the next round. So they roll 6, I roll 9, so that's me higher. They roll 7, I roll 8. They roll 8, I roll 7, and that's a draw because the numbers are equal. I roll 7, they roll 7, I roll 9, down to 4 hit points. They roll 6, I roll 7, they are down to 2 hit points. And finally, perhaps, they roll 8 and I roll 11, and the trees are dead. So 362. You skillfully wield your mighty sword. The sword trees are no match for your prowess, and soon each reaching limb has been lopped off. You look around the clearing. You find nothing except a few seeds that look as though they might have come from the sword trees. You pocket them and go. So I've got some sword tree seeds. I don't know if they're ever going to be useful. Is my camera on auto white balance there? I don't know, just assess the shade. I don't know, I'm just looking at my camera on the screen now and it looks very blue sometimes and it looks more yellow. Let's see. Ah yes, the white balance is on automatic. I'll just switch that off like so. Okay. Even as you pocket the seed, you see the new growth stirring at the base of the trees. You leave quickly. Now, if you come back here, of course, you have to fight the trees again every time you come back. So I want to avoid going past here too much. Now, there is... If I go north, I get to a place where there's a unicorn. But I have to go back past here again anyway, unless I go round. I don't want to do that. But the unicorn gives me 2 spells. I think I'll just skip that. I think I want to try to stay safe now and try to find this Antherica flower or berry that I'm looking for. So in which case I should go east, I suppose. Where is east now? So let's see, I'm at 22. If I can find a... my map isn't very good here, so looks like it's actually not telling me the proper ways to get... yeah, okay, so I can go north 320, that is over here. West 11. I have an 11 here? Can't see an 11 here. Oh, there it is. West 11. South 90, which is where I came from. Okay, so that's there. But how do I get to up here? And this is when my map looking so messy is a bad idea, because now I'm not sure exactly where I'm supposed to go. I'm wanting to go sort of north from here. Okay, so if I do go to where the unicorn is, that should lead me on the right path. Okay, so I'm going to go north and go to 320. The path dips slightly downwards and leads into a grassy clearing. This is clearing 29. If you have been here before, I haven't. In the middle of the clearing lies a white creature. At first you think it is a horse, but when it turns to face you, you realize that it is a unicorn. It appears to be wounded, great claw marks score its flank, but it gets to its feet and lowers its horn at you, snorting a challenge. Will you run away, fight it, or cast a spell? I'm going to cast a spell. Which spell would you cast on the unicorn? Friendship, fear, bless, fire. None of these. So I'm going to go and bless, because that's going to heal it a bit. So bless. and I go to 381. You don't want to attack the injured unicorn. You have always heard that they are good creatures. You cast the Bless spell instead. The creature quivers as the spell strikes it, then it whinnies joyfully. The wounds along its side are almost healed, and the unicorn is much stronger. It is still reluctant to approach a human, but it walks over to the side of the clearing and digs on at the ground with its horn. Then it looks at you and walks away. You look at the ground where it has been digging. There are 2 magic gems there, like the one Celator gave you. You recognize one as a friendship spell, and one as a spell to restore luck. So now I've got a luck spell, and a friendship spell. You are certain the unicorn can understand you as you thank it and go on your way. Turn to 348. So there are 4 exits. Would you go north, south, east, or west? Now, in this case, I am wanting to go... So I just came from the south, so that's backward. So what is east? This part of the map is particularly hard to read, so I'm at 348. South there, so that is okay. Oh, excuse me. Right, I'm back. Sorry about that. Okay. So there are 4 exits, and I was trying to figure out where I could go now. So north is here. I haven't been there before. This I haven't. Yeah. I'm sort of generally going north though. South is back where I came from. East is over here now because my map is so messed up. It's over here. And west. What was in the west? When I went over west, it said skill -1, skill -1. So I lost skill by going west, so I'm not going to go west in that case. Okay, so I'm just going to go north from here. The trail dips down and you see swirling mist. The smell is vile and you hold your breath. But before you get out of the mist, you are forced to breathe. Lose 2 stamina points from the effects of the swamp fog. Okay, so minus 2 stamina. Okay. If you travel to the north, turn to 295. If you're going south, turn to 320. Ah, yes. That's here. Stamina -2. I did a duplicate of 94 on the next page. Okay. Now I'm on my way north, so I'm going to 295. That's over here. You find yourself in a small opening on the bank of the Foulbrood River. You are in clearing 33. The opposite bank is at least 200 meters away. You see crocodiles and other creatures in the water. Will you walk east along the riverbank, turn to the south, or cast an ice spell to freeze the river? Surely that wouldn't work on the whole river, would it? I used my ice spell on the small river. We'll just have a little look and see if it actually works on the big one now. Yeah, well, it makes a very small bridge. Anyway, I'm going to see if I can find a way around that's safe to go. Which means I'm going east along the riverbank, and I'm going to 183. As you walk along, the ground becomes rocky and the path slopes. Did I forget to? I forgot to actually reduce my stamina when I got injured just now. So I'm down to 19. Okay, 19 stamina. As you walk along, the ground becomes rocky and the path slopes upwards. Instead of dismal trees, you see the sky ahead of you. You emerge on top of a high cliff overlooking the murky, foul-brewed river. You are in clearing 20. It is at least 20 meters down to the river, and the cliff is too steep for you to climb down. Below, you can see huge crocodiles sunning themselves in the water. Far to the east, you can see a bridge. Well, crocodiles don't really sun themselves in the water. They sun themselves out of water. Because when they're in the water, all you can see are their eyes sticking up. So, yeah, they can't really sun themselves in the water. Anyway, they're sunning themselves. Anyway. Far to the east, you can see a bridge which appears to cross the river, but no trail leads along the riverbank in that direction. 2 trails leave the clearing. Will you walk south into the swamp, walk west along the river, or dive into the river and swim north, or dive into the river and swim east? Now, diving into the river sounds like a terrible, terrible idea to me. I'm going to walk south into the swamp from here. So, a little roundabout way. It should get me where I'm going. You enter a rather pleasant glade surrounded by gnarled oaks. You are in clearing 9. If you've been here before, I haven't, not in this playthrough anyway, etc. Leaning against a tree, eating lunch, is a small, cheerful man in dark clothes. His food is in a picnic basket. He has no visible weapons except for the knife with which he is cutting his cheese. He notices you standing there and hails you. "Good day, fighter. Will you share my meal?" As he speaks, you feel the brass ring grow hot, warning you of evil. You realize that the man is a thief. So, if you attack this guy, you get a red cloak, which may or may not become useful later. So the options are attack him, ignore him, or accept his invitation and sit down. I'm not going to sit down because he is a thief. What happens if you ignore him, I wonder? I'm just going to ignore him and see what happens. So go to 17. Oh, that's not very good, is it? If this man is evil, you want nothing to do with him. You stride past him towards an exit. As you leave the clearing, a garrote whips round your neck. You struggle, but the thief chokes you with a garrote and you fall unconscious. Lose 3 stamina points. When you awake, you feel sick and dizzy. All your spell gems and other magic items are gone. Does that include the brass ring? Probably not. And there is no sign of the thief. Okay, so that is a terrible, terrible idea. So, -3 stamina and all gems / magic lost. Okay, so we are down to 16. So it seems the best option is to actually just fight him. Turn to 179. Okay, so that is over there. So having lost all my spells, this is going to be a much shorter game because now I can't regain my stamina anymore. There are 3 paths leading away from the clearing. The northern one seems to slope downwards. Will you go north, south, or east? So I'm going to go, let's see, where are we? If you go north, you get back to where you were before. South, you go to number 10. So that is, well, I know where that is. That's over here. So that's over here on my map. I'm not going back there now. So I'm going to try to go east still. East, yes. 118. You can see that ahead of you, 2 other paths join yours in a small clearing. You are in clearing 13. You feel a prickling sensation around your brass ring. Looking down, you see dozens of small scorpions scuttling towards you. Test your luck. So we have luck 9, and I have to roll 9 or better. That's 8. That is a success. And as with every test of luck, your luck also goes down by 1 point. So now it's 8. I'm lucky and I go to 70. Let's see, where are we? Yes. I was lucky the last time I was here as well. Your reactions are quick. You have time to decide how to deal with the scorpions. Will you stamp on them and strike with your sword, cast a fire spell, or leap over them to safety? Leaping was a test of stamina, so that looks like a good option. Okay, so I'm going to leap over them. Roll 2 dice. If the total is less than or equal to your stamina, and of course my stamina is 16, so that's still quite easy to do. Yeah, 7, that's less than 16. You jump over them. And then I go to 319. Hurriedly, you choose an exit. Will you go north, east, or west? So north I haven't been yet. East I have been. And west is back to 66. Okay, so I will go north this time, see what that is, because I've not been there before. Ahead of you there is an opening in the trees. You investigate. You are in clearing 35. You can see the wide Foulbrood River running east and west. A great stone bridge crosses the river and looks totally deserted. If you go onto the bridge, turn to 101. If you distrust the bridge and would rather turn around, turn to 45. So we have 45, turn back, or 101 bridge. So I'll go on the bridge. The bridge is old but in good repair. If you choose to travel north, turn to 350. If you'd rather go south, turn to 118. And 118 is down there. Okay, so I think it's a red one, so it's obvious where that goes. So that's back to the previous clearing. Or 350. Have I got a 350 here somewhere? 290, 53. No, doesn't look like it. So I'm going to go move 350 over here and see where that gets us. You are in a clearing where one huge tree rises from the hard, bare ground. In the tree is a gigantic nest made of sticks. You are in clearing 16. If you've been here before, turn to 331. So I'll just put that up here next to it on the map. 331. B for before. Because usually when you're directed back somewhere, very often that is the page reference. So just to know where I am. You stop to look at the great nest. Then you hear a rushing of wings behind you. A huge eagle is hovering over the clearing, watching you. Do you have some parrot feathers, a silver bird amulet, or neither of these? Well, so 3 options. 392 parrot feathers. Parrot feathers. I don't think I've seen any parrot feathers, and I've sort of been everywhere before this point, so but it might be beyond this point actually, just on a different trail that you can get them. And the bird amulet. I haven't seen any Master of Birds. Having had a Master of Bird amulet, the silver bird amulet probably would have been the best way to deal with this. So silver bird amulet. Or 233, neither. So I don't have any of those things. Let's see. The eagle lands on a branch of the tree and watches you. Its gaze is fierce, and its great hooked beak opens and closes threateningly. If you attack it, turn to 392. If you back away cautiously, turn to 25. 225. So we've got further options. 392 attack, or 225 back off. Well, I'm backing off. The eagle gives a great cry and circles the clearing once, then it flies to its nest. You are happy to leave it in peace. Turn to 202. I don't know, there might have been something interesting in its nest though. But anyway. So I'm going to 202. Let's see what it is. You have no reason to linger. You have a choice of 3 paths. Will you travel south, east, or west? So, south is 138. Do we have a 138? Yes, we do. There it is. So. And that's south. East 41. Does not look like we've got an east 41. So I'll make an east 41 there. East 41. And a west 14. And a west. Oops. West 14. Okay. I'll try going west. The trail takes you to a small open spot where years ago a great tree fell and dragged down several others. This is clearing 32. If you've been here before, go to 338. Okay, I'll just put that here. 338 before. As you approach, you hear the sound of fighting. You step around a tree and see a giant scorpion fighting a dwarf who's wearing leather armor. The dwarf is in trouble. As you rush towards the fight, the scorpion catches the dwarf's neck in one of its claws and throws him to the ground, where he lies still. You doubt that you have any magic spells which would be worth using on this enemy. If you leave the clearing while the monster feasts on the dwarf, turn to 88. If you attack the giant scorpion, turn to 312. Okay, interesting choice. Unusual choice. So we have 88, leave, 312, attack. Now, there is the possibility, of course, that the scorpion is injured. I might be able to fight it more easily because it was fighting the dwarf. The dwarf might have something interesting to me. Like the leather armor, although it would be the wrong size. I'll try to attack the scorpion. So I'm going to go to 312. The giant scorpion lifts its claws menacingly. It is not badly wounded. Oh dear. Evidently the dwarf was not a very skilled fighter. If he wasn't a skilled fighter, how did he manage to get that far into the swamp? Oh well. So 9, 10. If you decide to escape, turn to 88. If you kill the giant scorpion, turn to 324. So 324. Win. And escape. Now, he's got 9, 10. I've got 10, 16. It sounds like, and I don't have any spells, so it sounds like the best idea for me is to escape. I will escape. So I'm going to go down to 14 stamina. I'm losing 2 stamina automatically because I escape. And that means it hits me once automatically, and I go to 88. You leave the clearing. If you go north, turn to 121. If you go east, turn to 331. So we have north 121, or I'll put the other one there, I suppose. East 331. I'm going to try to go north. You find yourself at a crossing of paths. Which way will you go? Okay, so that's just crossing there. So south is 14, so that's down there where I came from. Then it's west 218, north 170, east 275. I'll try to go west. The path widens into another clearing. You're in clearing 15, so that's 15. You see that there is one other path leading out. Then off to the side you see a dim glow. It is a ball of dancing light, or will-o'-the-wisp. It hovers at the western edge of the clearing and then moves back a few meters. You can now see what may be another path, somewhat murky and overgrown, where the will-o'-the-wisp is dancing. It seems to want to show you something. Will you follow it or go on? So follow it to the west. So, well, basically will-o'-the-wisps, I mean the sort of folk mythology of will-o'-the-wisps in swamplands and marshlands is that it's these lights that show up, and if you follow them it will lead you into a place where you fall into the marsh. So if this is according to the legend of will-o'-the-wisps, I should not follow it. But then again, it may also lead me somewhere interesting, so I don't know for sure, but theoretically one should not be following one. Anyway, so west 72, south 336, and now my map is going to get cramped again here. Okay, so that's south 336, or east 121, which is back where I came from. Okay. Am I going to be curious and see where the will-o'-the-wisp takes me, whether it's an interesting place or somewhere I die? I'm quite curious sometimes, so I'll go south. I will not follow it. I'll go south. Okay, 336. You are in a particularly marshy area. The ground squishes under your feet. The path bends slightly and runs alongside a large pool. You can see that there is one other exit from this clearing. You're in clearing 28. If you've been here before, turn to 137. 137. D. If you've not been there before, etc. The surface, of the pool ripples nastily and green slime coats the water. You would never drink out of this pool, you are sure. Suddenly the scum on top of the pool seems to pull together. To your amazement, it heaves itself out of the water and onto the path, blocking your way. It is a viscous lump of slime, 2 meters wide, which gives off a fetid odor as it oozes slowly towards you. Will you run away, try to jump over it, attack with your sword, or use a magic spell? So that's too many options. Let's see, I'll have to move down here where there's room for that many options. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And go like so. Make a nice little square of options there. And I've got 85, run, 257, jump, 171, attack, or 400. 400, use a magic spell. How many paragraphs are in this book anyway? Oh, so actually in this book, victory is not on 400, because obviously you're going to go get something and then go back to where you came from. Oh no, that could still be 400, but there are different ways of winning, so I suppose it makes sense that it is not 400. It's a bit unusual, but that's really strange seeing turn to 400 when it isn't a victory paragraph. So, oh. That's another interesting thing about this book. There seems to be several ways of winning it, so it makes it replayable as well. Anyway. I don't have any magic spells, so I can't do that. I can attack it, I can try to jump over it, or I can try to run away. It's blocking my path. I can't get any further that way without... Maybe there is something important in that direction. So maybe I should try to jump over it first of all. So 257. Might fail miserably. Roll 2 dice. If their sum total is less than or equal to your skill, you jumped right over the disgusting slime. Okay, let's try that. Skill is 10. I rolled 12. I failed. So test skill. Okay, so and that is 1, 2, 3 success, and that's +2 luck, and 311 fail, and I land on top of the slime. That sounds like a terrible idea. The slime clutches at you, and its touch burns like acid. You scramble back. The burns reduce your skill by 2. -2 skill. Okay. Skill is now 8. If you run back the way you came, turn to 85. If you want to fight, turn to 171. I don't know. I sort of feeling like I'm getting closer to the end now. So either there or 85. I'm just going to fight it now. The slime is very strong, but almost mindless. Well, it's only got 5 skill, though. You can escape at any time, but leave on the path by which you entered. So that's all right then. Okay, so it's 5, 17. And then we have 153, and that's escape, or 38, win. Yeah, this page of the map is getting messy as well. Anyway, so I'm going to try to beat the slime. So I am at 8 skill. I'll just write it again. Actually, 8 skill, 14 stamina, and he's got 5 skill, 17 stamina. So let's see. So I've got a 3 skill point advantage, which is better than most battles this time. So he rolls a 5, I roll a 5. He's down to 15. He rolls a 9. I roll a 2. I'm down to 12. He rolls an 8. I roll a 12. He's down to 13. He rolls a 3. I roll 11. He's down to 11. He rolls 8. I roll 7. He's down to 9 hit points. He rolls 3. I roll 6. He's down to 7. He rolls 6. I roll 9. He's down to 5. He rolls 6. I roll 9. He's down to 3. He rolls 11. I roll 2. I'm down to 10 hit points left. He rolls 8. I roll 7. He's down to 1. Finally, he rolls a 5, and I roll a 7, and he is dead. Although I suppose if you kill a slime that's acidic, what's left is still acidic, isn't it? Anyway, just walk around it then, won't you? So I won that, and I go to 38. The slime is dead. Its remains melt and putrefy while you are watching. The smell is unbearable. Turn to 153. So that is... there we are. Okay, 153. You leave the clearing as quickly as possible. If you go north, turn to 218. So that is back where I came from, up there. So that's north. Or west 65. So that is down, let's do that down there. 65 and west. The trail winds about, but you keep to it faithfully, skirting a great shell fungus and the tiny creatures dining on it. You approach another clearing. This is clearing 10. If you've been here before, turn to 343. If you've not been here before, keep reading. Yeah, you can hear the sound of voices ahead of you. Cautiously, you peer around a tree. You see a group of 5 men. You guess they are brigands from their dress and rough speech. The brass ring is not warm, so you know that these men are not really evil. On the other hand, there is no need to be foolish. When you turn around and go back the way you came, charge out at them, shouting and waving your sword, or cast a spell from your hiding place. I suppose this is where friendship might have been useful. Step out confidently and greet them, which I've been warned against doing, I suppose. So we've got 1, 3, 7, turn back, 2, 3, 1, attack, 3, 8, 7, spell, or 1, 6, 3, greet. I'm just going to go and greet them, actually. I should have cast a friendship spell that I would have had because I found one at the unicorns, but it got stolen from me, so I can't do that. But I'm going to see if I can just use my confidence and get them to trust me that way. You stride along the path and into the clearing. They are surprised to see you, and I'm even more surprised when you hail them casually and keep on walking. Where do you think you're going? They ask. North, you reply. They are impressed by your coolness. The brigands are accustomed to demanding payment from passers-by, but they are not murderers. Although they could attack you, the odds would be 5 to 1. They do not feel that would be very sporting. Finally, the leader suggests a solution. You and he will fight. The first one to hit the other will be declared the winner. If the brigand leader draws the first blood, you must give him something of value. If you draw first blood, he and his men will let you go. If you agree to this plan, turn to 79. If you will not agree, turn to 353. So, 2 options there. 79, agree, and 353, no. Okay. So I'll agree to the plan. See how that goes. You agree that a single combat fought to first blood only would be an honourable way to settle the question. You and the brigand leader square off. The other men crowd around you, but they do not seem treacherous, merely excited. You fight only until one of you hits the other. So that's 2 options then for whoever hits first. 360 or 128. So that's him or you. Okay. 9, 10, and an asterisk to mark that it's a special rules combat. Can you see this now? Yeah, it's a little bit blurry there because of the focus. Sorry about that. But I'm trying to find the sort of best compromise focus on my camera because the autofocus hunts too much to be useful. Next time I get a webcam, I'll get something that focuses a bit faster. Maybe that'll work. And I'm running out of tea, and I've run out of squash. I've got some water. Right, so he's got skill of 9, 10, and I am at 8, 14. Sorry, that's not right. 8, 10. I'm at 8, 10. So, first blood. You got 1 skill point advantage on me, so I have to roll at least 1 higher then. So he rolls 6. I need to roll 8 really. Oops. And I roll 7. That's a draw. He rolls 8. I roll 3, and he gets first blood. I lose 2 stamina points. I'm down to 8. And so he hits me first, and I go to 128. Although you are skillful, the brigand leader is also a fine swordsman. His blade raps you sharply on the ribs. You have lost. Your opponent, a good sport, congratulates you on a fine fight and spreads out his own cloak so that you can sit down and rest. And now to say, oh, hang on. I'm losing stamina, though, surely, even though he just... It doesn't say that you don't lose stamina, so I'll just lose stamina for that. And now to settle our little wager, he says, what have I won? You must give him any one gem, jewel, or magical artifact that you possess. If the only such item you have is your brass ring, turn to 180. Oh dear. Does that mean I have to give him the brass ring and then I'll be lost here forever? I'll have to join the brigands, I suppose. Okay, so 180 brass ring, or 19 if I have anything else. Okay, so 180. Your brass ring is the only item of value that you have. You're unwilling to give it up, but you feel that you have no honorable alternative. Sorrowfully, you remove it from your finger. The brigand leader sees that you are upset and asks what the problem is. When you explain, he insisted to take the ring back. You are truly honest, he says, and it would be a shame to take from you the only thing that you have left, when you need it so much. He claps you on the back. You have earned the trust and friendship of the brigands. Turn to 214. That's a very nice thing, isn't it? I really like that, because now this is more sort of role-playing game style stuff going on in a game book, instead of just hack and slash and finding treasure, which is what you usually get. So that is very good, actually. Okay, so 214. Do 4. Okay. Now that the brigands are well disposed towards you, you ask them where you are. They tell you that the town of Willowbend is only a little way to the north. They add that of the 3 inns in town, the Bent Spear is by far the best, and that you can trust the innkeeper. Okay, so we've got hint. You say goodbye to the brigands and leave. Turn to 19. Okay. Bent Spear. Okay. There are 2 paths leading out of the clearing. The northern one is much wider and more distinct, as though many had travelled along it. Will you go north? 280. So let's see, where is our 280 now? Or east? Okay, so 280 west. Do I have a 280? No, I don't. East is so south. No, hang on, that's the wrong one. North or east. 137 is east. Have I got 137? I don't think so. Oh, there it is. Turn back. Okay, so that's turning back where I came from. Or 280 going north. So I will do like so and say 280 north, and that is east. Okay, so I'll go north and see what's there. You follow the path northward. Gradually it becomes wider and the swamp less dismal. The marsh slowly turns into forest, and before long you see a sign ahead of you. This way to Willowbend. If you have been to Willowbend before, turn to 355. No, I have not. 3:55 before. A few minutes later, you hear human voices and meet a party of foresters. You walk with them to the town of Willowbend. After your adventures, you only want to find an inn and get a good night's sleep. The foresters tell you that there are 3 inns in Willowbend. Will you go to the Black Bear, the Bent Spear, or Tancred's Flying Horse? So, we've got 3 options. And 289, 78, or 395. Black Bear, Bent Spear, or Flying Horse. So I'm going to go to the Bent Spear because that's the one that came recommended by TripAdvisor, by the Brigands on TripAdvisor. So 78. The Bent Spear is a pleasant room inn. You pay the innkeeper a gold piece and go to your room. And this gamebook also is the one where you actually don't deal with gold pieces, which is unusual. As soon as your head hits the pillow, you fall asleep. You wake up the next morning feeling refreshed. Regain 2 stamina points. So up to 10. So plus 2 stamina. When you're about to leave, the innkeeper hails you. He knows that you came through Scorpion Swamp and that you intend to return the same way. You must be a mighty fighter to have come through the swamp, he says, and perhaps this is none of my business, but there is a wizard in the next street who might be able to sell you some spells to help you get back. Thanking the innkeeper for his kind suggestion, you ask for directions to the wizard and leave. If you visit the wizard, turn to 150. If you strike off south across the swamp again, turn to 343. So we have 343 or 150. So that is Wiz or Swamp. Now this, of course, should have been probably somewhere else on the map here now, but looks like I'm mapping in a circle, even though I'm not going in a circle. Maybe. I'm going to go to the wizard and see what he's got for future reference. The street leading to the edge of town is full of little shops, and one sign catches your eye instantly. Halikar, dealer in potions and spells. You go in. Halikar proves to be a pleasant young man. He's a neutral wizard and can sell only neutral spells. You do not have enough gold pieces to deal with him, but some of the items that you picked up in the swamp will interest him. You lay them on his table. Each of the following, if you have it, can be exchanged for 1 magical gem containing a neutral spell. A violet jewel, a gold chain, any of the silver amulets from the masters, a golden magnet, or the horn of unicorn. Halikar can sell you no more than 3 spells. Okay, so those items are useful as means of barter in that case. So that's interesting to know. Right. Then you leave the shop, going south back into Scorpion Swamp, turn to 343. I'm still looking for my flower, of course. Still don't know where to find it. You see that you are approaching the spot where you first met the brigands. If you parted from them in friendship, turn to 199. If you fled from them, tricked them, or killed some of them, turn to 301. Okay. So we have 301, 199 friends, or I just write enemies. Well, I did part from them in friendship, so that was nice. I go to 199. There are 2 brigands resting in the clearing, which seems to be their meeting place. Recognizing you, they smile and wave. You call a greeting and pass by. Turn to 19. So that is down there, 19. There are 2 paths leading out of the clearing. The northern one is much wider and more distinct, as though many had travelled along it. Travelled along it. Will you go north or east? What happens if I go back to the town? I want to find out, because I'll just be curious now. So I'm going to go north again and go to 280. You follow the path northward, etc., and this way to Willow Bend. If you've been here before, turn to 355. Probably can only go and rest and stuff once, presumably. Ah, yes, okay, that wasn't a good idea. The trail towards Willow Bend is now familiar, but when you enter the town again, something seems different. You feel people are watching you and you hear whispering voices. You realize that the tale of your exploits has become common knowledge. You feel uneasy about the greedy glances cast in your direction. As you turn into a side street, you're aware that you are being followed. You turn, and 2 ragged cutpurses set upon you, hoping to steal the treasure they are sure you have brought back from the swamp. Well, little do they know, huh? There is no time for magic and nowhere to run to. You must fight them. So I'm fighting them. Fight one and then the other. That's a different wording than Ian Livingstone and Steve Jackson used, but that is interesting enough. Right, so we've got 7, 5 and 8, 5 and 1 at a time. And you go to 186 if you win. Okay, so I've currently got a skill of 8, 10 stamina, and now I'm fighting a 7, 5 and an 8, 5. On paper, that should be doable. Let's find out if that is true also when the dice are involved. So first one, I got an advantage of 1 skill point. He rolls an 8, I roll a 6, I'm down to 8. He rolls 7, I roll 3, I'm down to 6. Well, so much for the idea of paper, I suppose. He rolls a 9, I roll a 7, I'm down to 4. Okay, I think I need to use a luck point to see if I can avoid one of those. So I'm rolling against 8. I roll 9, which means I lose 1 extra, and I'm down to 3, and I lose 1 luck, and I'm down to 7. Oh dear. He rolls 7, I roll a 4. I'm down to 1 hit point. I need a miracle now if I'm going to make this. He rolls a 7, I roll an 11. He's down to 3. He rolls 5. I roll an 8. He's down to 1. Maybe I'll use a luck. Try to use luck to see if I can kill him off right now. So I'm rolling against 7. I roll 6, so that means he is dead. Okay, next one. No advantage skill-wise. He rolls 10. I roll 8 and I am dead. Okay, that was quite exciting actually. I'm liking this book more and more, and I think I noticed this, just like City of Thieves, is one that often tends to top people's charts over their favorite fighting fantasy books. Another one that keeps cropping up quite high on people's list is Scorpion Swamp. And I was always a bit curious about this, because when I was playing this in the old days, when I had this book back in the 80s, I just didn't gel with it. But now I'm actually quite enjoying this. It's really well written. It's got some clever role-playing stuff. And the mechanics for going for sort of an open world where you can go anywhere you want and you can go back makes it a lot more sophisticated than many of the other game books. And also the way that things that happen when you go back where you came from is interesting. So I really like this. It's very enjoyable, and I'm looking forward to playing this one more time at least. I still haven't found the flower I'm looking for, or to get the berry I'm looking for. I don't know where that is. I have looked at I've been most places now, I presume, but there's still some bits to go I haven't seen yet. So yeah, it'll be interesting to continue. So anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for stopping by again to have a little look at what I'm up to here. And if you like this video, please comment, subscribe, like, all that stuff. Share with your friends if you have someone else you know who likes fighting fantasy game books. And I'll see you next time with more fighting fantasy fun. I'm not sure when next time will be, because the next few days I'm going to be rather busy with work. Now that lockdown is finally sort of over here, or most of lockdown anyway. And I'm working quite late the next few days, but I might find time during the weekend, or if not, next week hopefully I will find some time for more videos, or certainly game book playing, because they do require a bit more time than making, for instance, videos to do with music, which I can do sort of just before bedtime, just whatever time I have available to me. So anyway, thanks for watching, and yeah, well, goodbye for now. Bye bye.